Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Redneck Computer Geek and this is Maine Mudmower. And if you've never heard of a mudmower, I suggest you check out the rest of my channel. But anyways, to get to the point, we're going to be swapping out the front axle on this in order to upgrade it to a cast iron front axle. In your situation, you might just be swapping out a regular axle, or you might need to pull yours out and do all the bushings and things like that. But that's what we're going to cover on this tutorial, is just swapping out, dropping the whole front axle. So let's get started. The very first thing you want to do is have your replacement axle, obviously, and have it fully assembled and ready to go. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your front tires off, you're going to undo your ball joint here, and if you have one of these worn out, check the description. I'll post a link for another video on how to rebuild those in a pinch. So you're going to get the tires off, get the ball joint off, and then we'll go from there. When you go to remove the ball joint, once you take the tires off, makes it a lot easier. It's a 1/2 inch on top, and then it's a 9/16 on the bottom. Alright, so once you're at this point, your ball joint is undone. You get a jack in underneath the center. Now at this point, there's a couple of ways to deal with this situation. The first of which I find the easier one, is to take all 4 of these bolts out on this side, all 4 of the bolts out on that side, and drop the entire assembly. That way you can just swap it in. Or, if you want, you can unbolt one bolt here and loosen the bolt there, do the same thing on the other side, and then you can take the center pivot bolt out of the center. The problem with that method, though, is that if you have a standard muffler in the setup, a lot of times you have to actually drop or remove the muffler or put it slightly to the side in order to make the carriage bolt actually fit. So I'm going to use my method where I unbolt all 4, drop it onto a jack, drop the whole thing, rebuild it from there. And there we go, all 4 screws are undone. And out you go. So at this point, once you have all of this assembly out of the tractor, you're going to take this bolt, and these are carriage bolts, so make sure you're holding them in while you're undoing them so that they don't strip out the backside, and this center bolt. Once you remove that center bolt behind this axle piece here will drop out, and I'll be replacing it with this cast iron one. Alright, so from here you can lift the plate off, and there you are, there's your axle. So that lifts off. Set that aside. Take your other axle. Set it on. Now, remember when looking at this that the carriage bolt side on the through bolt goes towards the muffler. Okay, so at this point you got your replacement axle and you got your tie rod ends facing up, making sure that your tires, your spindles are facing out so that you know that you've got it correctly lined up on the center hole. So what we're going to do is take this and set it through. Put it in a position where you can put your thumb on it, or finger. Set your axle over the top of it. Now, you're going to take your bottom plate like this, and you're going to set it with this going down into the notches, like such. You're going to take your top plate, set it onto the notches, and then center the bolt in the middle. And then be sure to put your nut on. If Give it a quick zip, but not too tight. Alright, so once this is on, now you can even it up. Make sure these tabs are in, and then set your other bolts. Alright, so at this point, you want to make sure this is where it needs to be so that this pivots. And then set your tie rod end across this piece here, and then you just put it back into the tractor in the opposite of how I showed you before.